So, welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan here. Now, for today on the show, what can I say? We're having an epic, super badass Tuesday because we're having on the show the incredible, amazing, the badass, the superstar, the legendary, the one and only, the super amazing Brie. Brie, how are you today?
Well, what an introduction. If I was in a bad mood, I'm in a great one now. But I am doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I mean, what better way to have an incredible, super badass Tuesday than to be chatting with someone as badass as you? You know what I mean?
I love it. Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm happy to
There,
talk to you as well.
there you go. Now, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow, helps a lot. But also, on the description below, you're gonna find all of free social media. Let's follow her, and let's
Mm,
discover why she's super badass. Now, without
please,
further
yes.
more, let's jump in. So I want to start this whole conversation by throwing out the first question, which is
Mhm.
how it all started. So we know that you are a super badass actress, super badass voiceover artist, and a super badass model. So how it all started from all of those, basically.
Yeah, so I grew up acting. I loved acting. I would get myself in anything I could, theater, speech team, drama clubs, anything and everything. And then when I went to college, I figured like it was time to get a normal people job, and I tried to give it up. I ended up getting cast in a play in college, and it just all came back. And I was like, you know what? I was doing pretty badly in college with my health. And so I told myself, like, if I can get myself back on track and I'm feeling better, like, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I think that's following my dreams with acting. And so that is exactly what I did. And that's why I moved to LA.
There you go. I love it.
Yeah.
Simple, but at the same time epic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's been a fun journey.
And tell me, once when you were, deciding that, you know what, this is gonna be my path now, what were some of those first challenges that you first encounter?
Yeah, so the industry itself is really confusing and overwhelming. And when I moved here in 2020, it was COVID. And so it was a new city. I didn't know a lot of people. I didn't have a lot of connections, and I knew all of that was important. And then, of course, sets were not open because COVID closed everything down. So I was pretty overwhelmed. I was patient and I was excited just to be in LA in general and have the beach and meet new people. But it was, yeah, I think navigating the industry still to this day, it perplexes me because especially when you're first starting, you don't really know what you don't know. Like you don't even know the questions to ask. Like I kept joking when I moved here. I was like, I just want to get rejected. Like I just want to get to the point where I can get rejected. Like how do I even get in front of someone to get accepted or rejected? So, yeah, that's been a journey in itself.
That's epic. And I mean, it happens, right? That whenever you are starting out something new, you
hmm
just you're basically out, don't know. You're like, okay, so what should I do? And you will
Totally.
perhaps see, yeah, like you will might take advices and see tutorials, things like that to kind of get the
hmm
idea to it. But even though, the first, I think that those first steps are kind of the breaking point if you are really want to continue doing it or fall back. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And to see if you really want to commit to it.
And tell me, once where you were already start to audition, start to get acting roles here and there,
hmm
how you were starting to handle the whole rejection side.
Yeah. To me, I almost think of acting like dating. Like
Okay.
both sides have to stick. Like you have to connect to them, they have to connect to you. And it's hard, especially if you get further along in the process or you're doing like a chemistry read or second or third callback, you start getting more attached to the role or just specific characters that you really connect with. So I can't say this still doesn't hurt sometimes, but for the most part, I will send things out, especially self tapes, and it's just like, okay, whatever happens, like this is who I am. This is my authentic self. I study with Meisner technique. So a lot of it is just bringing who you are to that role. And so to me, I'm like, that's how I'm going to approach it. So if that's not how you connect to how you want to see this role being played out and envisioned, then like, I'm not going to take it personally.
I like it. Okay, okay. And
Yeah.
how you handle criticism.
Criticism's hard. Yeah, I'm definitely a sensitive soul. I love criticism because I really strive to get better and I want to do my best and I want to be able to connect to people because to me acting is all about behavior and connecting to individuals and that's what makes it so powerful. So, it's hard if someone critiques you and they don't feel that or they don't see it. Then I'm like, "Oh, that's so irritating because that's my job as an actor. Like I want you to be able to connect with me and sympathize with me and like understand where I'm coming from or my point of view. But again, I mean, a lot of things are subjective. So you just have to keep trying and keep doing your best and make sure you're not lazy and come prepared. And then at the end of the day, that's the best you can do.
I think it's important, right, to be aware where to be aware where the criticism comes from, right? I do think like
True.
and especially right now in an era that basically everyone can become a reviewer or can critique whatever they want, with the whole social media. So I do think
Hmm.
that that is kind of a very important thing to be aware where those critiques are coming from. If they are coming from from a place of love, then sure, put some attention to it. But if they're not, you know what I mean, just don't listen
Yeah.
to it, basically.
Yeah, that's so true. That's a good point. And luckily, I'm grateful that most of mine are coming from people that, want to push me or want to make sure I'm top of my game and doing what I need to be doing. But you're right. The ones that are not, you have to be aware of and remind yourself where they're coming from.
Totally, because it's difficult, especially once, like, especially since you are kind of putting yourself out there, for
Hmm.
the world to see, like, what your work, what you do, and things like that. I mean, of
Hmm.
course, that it's kind of at the same time um a little bit of a risky situation, knowing that some people, and especially now in this time, that people suddenly, when they don't like something, they want to destroy it. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's challenging, and we will see a lot of people actually getting this type of hate, I would say, instead of
Yeah.
critics, I would say hate.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. And even when I'm watching films and things, if I don't love it, it's usually I'll say like I'm not connected to it or I didn't understand it or see where they're coming from. I try not like I know for the most part people are putting their best foot forwards and putting in a lot of hard work. So it's true. It's not nice to like completely attack someone or push them down. I think we're all
Totally.
trying to get better and, you know, act the best we can, present the best we can, whatever part of like the career production. Like I think everyone usually wants it to come out the best it can. So yeah, going
Totally.
about it in a nice way, even if you are critiquing.
Yeah, and if you don't like something, just don't consume it. Problem solved.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, that is
Yeah.
that is that is what I use. That's like my thing here. If I don't like a movie, or if I don't like a TV show or a product or whatever, I'm like, okay, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna consume it. Problem
That's true.
solved, and that's it.
Yeah. No one's making
Because
you watch it.
that's true. Yeah, because like once you like, there's so many people involved. Like it's specifically like on a movie or a TV show or even a play. Like all of that. There's so many people involved here, and if you're attacking the whole thing just for one performance or for one thing that happened that pisses you off, and now you want to destroy the whole operation behind to it. I mean, at
Yeah.
the same time, it's bad because at the end, it's a job. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And when you are out there to destroy that film or TV show that you don't like, sure. I mean, what is going to happen? Perhaps what might happen is that the people were behind of it, like regular workers there, might not get hired ever again because they were involved in that specific,
Yeah.
in that specific project. So, it's a kind of a
That's
complicated thing
true.
sometimes.
Yeah. I don't think people fully think out their actions or comments or thoughts sometimes. That's a good point.
Yeah, that's what we're all about here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I'm all for critique, but yeah, I really like to do it in a way that's building someone up instead of
totally,
tearing someone down.
totally.
Hmm.
And moving on here a little bit and focusing a little bit on your acting career. Tell me, like, what is the usual process that you take to create a character? Is there any specific ritual that you follow, or like, what is your thing here?
Yeah. So for me, I try to connect myself to the character as best I can. So sometimes that comes naturally. Like maybe this hasn't happened for me, but for example, maybe you're playing a character that got cheated on and that's the scene. Like it's very easy to snap into that and be like, okay, I remember how this felt. So sometimes you just naturally connect to a character and that's amazing. When you don't, you have to reach a little bit higher, but really just trying to get the same ballpark of that feeling. Like, for example, if I'm playing someone whose parents died and my parents are both alive, like, what is that like empty, hollow, shell, like horrible feeling? And how can I connect to that?
Mm.
So I'll try to just bring myself to every character and how I would react in each situation so I can make it as grounded and real and relatable as it possibly can.
And has it ever happened to you that during this creation process, you kind of got, yeah, you kind of got hooked a little bit more than usual to the character than when it was time to, break character and return to be the real you, let's say. Was it like a little bit challenging at first?
Absolutely. Yeah, I get a little bit tied into characters sometimes. It's really fascinating. Sometimes it's hard if it's a strong emotion to like let it go. Like sometimes I'll have like my whole day feel just a little bit more sad or a little bit off, depending on obviously the mood of the scene or the character. And then other times it's interesting, like something that a character will say, like a dialogue or a word I'll start using in like my everyday speech, where I'm like, that is so interesting that that's like wiggled itself into my life.
Mm-hmm. And do you have like a specific, yeah, like what is your usual thing in order for you to break character?
I can usually break character pretty well. I mean, as soon as the scene ends or they say like let it go or we're working in class, like you get pretty good at kind of snapping in and out, but it will still kind of impact you a little bit, even if you let the character or the scene go.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's amazing, right? The fact that you are about to play someone else, and at the end your body is the instrument for that character, and at the same time you're kind of putting yourself, like, yeah, like the real you're kind of putting it away for a bit, and then you are stepping into this characters. I mean, I find that amazing when when characters are like presented to it, and somehow, even though that what you're watching it's not real, the
Hmm.
emotions you are developing to through that character you are seeing it are real, and suddenly if that character something happens to it, you feel you feel totally bad, you feel really
Yeah.
sad, and at the end those emotions are real. So it's just
Hmm.
like amazing, that part.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so interesting because you really start to sympathize or like cheer people on, or yeah, you get really invested just watching a character, and that's how you know that they're doing it well.
Totally, totally. I mean, yeah, just amazing. And like, tell me, like, when you were like starting out here and there, making your first steps, was there like a, yeah, was there like a character or a performance that got you inspired to continue pushing further to your acting career?
Mm. I love diving into characters. So I feel like anything I'd take on, I would get so invested in and just be like, okay, how can I put my own spin on this? How can I have like a little quirk that's like funny or ridiculous? Or like, would this character be chewing gum? Like just random little, even like wardrobe. So yeah, there's been so many characters, even just in acting class that I've played with. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel like at the very beginning, I did a film that was like a very quirky know-it-all character. And that was one of my favorites, just thinking back of when I first moved here, because it was so unlike me. Like, I'm usually very considerate of people's feelings. I'm kind of a people pleaser. Like, I don't usually shove my opinions or, like, especially politics in people's faces. And so that character was just so opposite of me. And it was so fun in that regard.
Do you think that at the same time you get the chance to be on somebody else's shoes that are living that same situation you are playing at that point?
Mm. Yeah, you really are. And a lot of times it will teach you different perspectives. Like, I think it really makes me a better person because I will really put myself in that person's shoes. Or, imagine I'm pregnant in a scene. Like, all of a sudden it's like, okay, wow, how does it feel to be pregnant or to have this mindset or perspective? And yeah, it makes you really sympathize with other people and put yourself in their shoes and live it
Okay.
out, which is, yeah, a very unique experience now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. And how has your character evolving process no how has your characting process has evolved over the years since you're starting out until today, basically?
Yeah, so much. It's so funny because before I moved here, I was like, oh, I've always been a good actor. Like, I don't need to go to acting school, maybe just to brush up, maybe to learn more on camera techniques. And that was so far from the truth. I have learned so much in acting school the past couple years because I feel like, especially growing up, like elementary school and junior high doing theater, like it's very over the top, it's very dramatic. Like, you can just dive into a character and then jump out. Now I feel like I get a lot more invested. Like, it's not as much about learning your lines as learning the character and the behavior. And that's probably the biggest shift for me was not just like, okay, let's memorize, let's run lines. It's like, no, let's really study what it means to be this person and how you feel in the situation. And even more so, like working off your scene partner. Because that was something I don't think I did as much. I was so focused on me and my emotions and my dialogue and how I would look. And now I'm like, no, it's like in everyday life. Like I'm more focused on you and working off of you and talking to you. And so really having that perspective switch has made a big difference.
Okay. I mean, that's even like more badass. You're stepping it up. I'm loving it. This is epic. And tell me, acting can be, emotionally demanding. So how do you maintain a balance between fully immersing yourself in a role and taking care of your mental and emotional well-being?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's funny because sometimes I feel like acting will affect me off. Like if I have to play a really sad or dramatic scene, it will affect me. But then there's times in my life where I'm feeling really sad or dramatic and I get to pour that into my work. So it can work both ways. Like there's sometimes I go to acting class and I'm like I'll start crying and I'm like, I didn't even know that was in me. Like the scene didn't call for crying at all. And I just, in a way, it was like an emotional outlet. So yeah, it's sometimes helped. Sometimes can be a little tricky, but you do learn to shake it off. And a lot of times the characters are happier. You don't know. So sometimes it's a good emotion to be stuck in for the day.
Hmm. I love it. I love it. And
Yeah.
actors often have to adapt to different genres or styles of performance. So is there
Mhm.
like a particular genre or style that you haven't explored yet, but you would love to try?
Ooh, yeah. I honestly get cast the most with horror and comedy, which I love. And I've done a lot of dramatic scenes like in acting class and stuff, but I think it would be fun to play like a very serious character. I often play like very quirky, very creepy. So I guess I did kind of get to play a more normal character last week. But yeah, just having like a very, very grounded character that maybe the other people are more quirky. But I love it all, so it's hard. But yeah, maybe something like that.
Okay, okay. And like what has been the most bizarre or unexpected thing that ever happened to you on set?
Oh wow. Man, every week is a surprise. You really never truly know what you're walking into because it changes by the minute. I think the most crazy, I was playing a monster in a horror film. And I'd done a lot of horror films, but I hadn't specifically been like a creature. And that was just really interesting because I walked in not really knowing much at all and they were like, "Okay, you're going to be in hair and makeup for 6 hours." And I was like, "Oh." And so I got in a bald cap, and then even then they put like veins in my head and put like weird tufts of hair. And by the time I went to the bathroom and like just looked at myself after like 4 or 5 hours of this, I was scared of myself. I didn't even know how to react. I was like, okay, here we go. And then the other challenge of that day, which again, you don't know what you're walking into, they painted my eyes white. And so they ended up liking it better when my eyes were closed. And so I had to film all of my scenes with my eyes closed. And so I had to kind of, as a creature, like map out all of my steps based on the dialogue and certain sounds so that I could react and like, I mean, a lot of it was like creaturey movements, but yeah, that was one of the most challenging days in just a very weird way. But it was so fun. It was so fun.
Yeah. I once interviewed someone who has like who specialized in creature work.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, when she was like explaining me like all of it, like all of what she does, and I did
Mhm.
check a little bit of her work here and there, and it was amazing. I was like, this is super cool. I mean, I was
Yeah.
like, for a second, I was thinking about like, do you really get paid for that? To actually be
Yeah.
growling and moving all like strange and all of that. And I remember when I saw who was he? Oh yeah, Cumberbatch when he was
Mhm.
doing the whole motion capture for the dragon in The
Um,
Hobbit.
yes, 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 yes.
And you see him like all like when did like the whole motion capture the whole motion capture, and he's just moving in like doing like all the moves and everything like a dragon and speaking like that. I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah. It's funny. I definitely have moments where I'm the same. I'm like, I'm getting paid for this. But at the same time, it's weird once you're actually there. Like you really have to fully commit and just be like, okay, this is what I'm getting paid to do. So as weird as it is, I'm doing this in a room of people and I'm just gonna have to commit and go full out.
But that's amazing, and I think that's like the whole beauty of it when you get when you see like the final product, you know what I mean? And to be like,
Yeah.
I mean, I would assume that is pretty, yeah, that is pretty epic to see you as a creature, moving and everything. And
Yeah. 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 And people respect you on set when you take it seriously too. Like a lot of times you do set the tone and you just kind of have to be like, okay, I'm just gonna know this is gonna be weird and slightly uncomfortable. And the more seriously I take it, the more they will. So yeah, I'm grateful that most of the time the producers and directors, even on like voiceover jobs, even if we're just on Source Connect and it's digital, like they'll really get into it with you and like have suggestions or like, not make you feel stupid, really dive into that world and that character with you, which I really appreciate.
that is amazing. And when you were playing that role, was the people on set kind of a little bit scared when they were seeing you walking with a full costume as a creature?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think everyone was a little freaked out by me. And I hadn't met a lot of the crew until like halfway through the day because they were filming while I was in hair and makeup. And so afterwards, I like took everything off. I still looked a little weird, but all of them were like, "Oh, you're actually pretty. Like you're actually normal and you have red hair." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't normally have no hair and like, all these weird features."
Mm.
So, yeah, it was very fascinating.
That's amazing. I would bet that it would have been like more kind of bizarre to see the whole creature. Um, tweeting, or checking
Mm.
WhatsApp or drinking Starbucks or something like that. I
Yeah.
once interviewed an actress who did a specific role for a horror film, and she was like the main monster, and she was telling me that it was hilarious because she would be acting normal, talking regularly like, hey, well, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna have for lunch or things like that, and
Yep.
people around her were like looking like what is going on here, like see like the whole monster that it's about to play this most intense, this very intense scene, and be minutes before that, you will see them, just chilling, having a laugh here and there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is always fun to see. But yeah, obviously we need breaks in between and have to eat lunch, so it definitely happens.
I like it. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And tell me, like, what do you think that is one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about, yeah, about acting in general?
Mm. I actually took this from my acting teacher. She would always say, like, people assume actors are dumb. And at first I was like, oh, that's not cool. But it's true. A lot of times people just kind of assume actors are either kind of self-absorbed or not super smart. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions because scene study and like really developing a character, really knowing the script, really being able to work off of someone like that takes a lot. It takes a lot of like thought and care. And so you really have to like make sure you understand the script, but also that you have like the social capabilities to work off of someone and see like where they're coming from. And a lot of times you can't rehearse ahead of time. So the first time you're doing the scene is often on camera, you have like one rehearsal. So to be able to be flexible, you can't have the scene like in your head a certain way. You have to see how they're going to present it too. So yeah, it works you in a lot of different ways, mentally and physically, and I think that's maybe something people don't realize.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. That is, yeah. And somehow it kind of makes sense because since we are just watching the final product, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It tends to
Yeah,
be like how difficult, like how difficult can that be? You know what I mean? To be
yeah,
playing, to be acting around, I don't know, doing a specific horror, comedy, whatever. So I can understand somehow like where
Mhm.
those ideas come from. But at the same
Yeah,
time, when you get the chance to know a little bit about the work behind the scenes, then you're like, oh, because of the whole
yeah.
hours that you can go. I mean, I have interviewed so many actors they have told me that usually you will go on set and it will be like a 12, 13, 14 hour shift,
Hmm.
basically, that you will stay there for the rest of the day, possibly part of the night as well. and like all of those, like all of those things that when you get the chance to, as I said, to kind of know a little bit of it, then you're like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, okay, I see. I see that there's this huge operation going, and also I do think that sometimes it's through acting and with music, like specifically like on arts, when we
Hmm.
get the chance to either discover more about ourselves and to actually overcome like in a specific, like a bad moment or a bad situation, something like that, like what I mean? It's like for example, I was watching this interview today in which with this actor that I just keep forgetting his name, dang it. But he was saying that let's be real, nobody perhaps nobody will like nobody cares about poetry or films or music, everyone has like their own daily lives here and there, and then they will move forward. But when they are facing a specific moment in their life, it's when they try to search comfort through art, and that's
Yeah.
when we realize how important and
Yes.
amazing it is basically to our lives.
That's so true because I've always seen film and TV as like a window into somebody else's reality. Like, Queen's Gambit, for example, I didn't know a lot about chess, and all of a sudden, like, you're thrown into that world. Or if you're watching like a show about doctors, like, or lawyers, like, you don't see that world. So a lot of times, or even like a certain country, like, that is your window into that.
Totally, and I think that with that is when we can also get the chance to talk about like a specific topic, like sensitive topic, especially right now. it's it's
Yeah.
it's it's with arts when we can have this conversation to it, when they can
Mhm.
actually explore on a specific topic, and to at the same time with raise awareness if it is necessary or not, depending. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, it really helps you see different perspectives.
And tell me, like, during this, at this point during with your whole acting career, like,
Mhm.
what are some of the things that had actually helped you to become like a better version of yourself?
Mm. As a person or as an actor? Or I guess maybe both.
Let's go for both.
Okay. I think being more in tune with myself and being honest with myself. I think probably the biggest thing that's made me a stronger actor and really developed me as a person here is the acting class I go to. I go to Playhouse West, and yeah, it's a class that really they don't want you to fake anything. They don't want you to force anything. They want you to take out all the punctuation. They want you to take out the action items. If the scene says to cry, you don't have to cry. Like all the pressure's off, but you have to be authentic. And that's taught me to be authentic with my acting work, but it's also taught me to be authentic in real life. And it's also taught me, again, to work off of people. And that's been interesting because even now, like a lot of the beginning work with that school is to read behavior. And so even in my real life now, like I'll start calling out behavior, like notice people's tendencies and be like, you look upset. Like, why are you upset? Versus like before, I probably wouldn't be as direct with that. And now it seems like it's kind of seeped into my real life, but it's made me be more authentic and it's made me, I think, connect to people better.
There you go. That's like
Yeah.
you're more badass. You're killing it here.
Way
Okay.
too sweet.
So now we find out why you are an incredible super badass actress. So that's check. Now,
Okay. Check.
now moving, yeah, like moving topic here a little bit. Tell me how your modeling career started.
Hmm. Yeah, so that was honestly an accident. In regards to I wanted to get back into acting and I was like, okay, shoot, first thing I need is headshots, right? And so I was in New York at the time visiting my sister who lives there. And she was like, my friend's a photographer. He can do headshots for you. Because, I didn't have much money at the time. And I was like, okay, let's just do it. And so I worked with him and I loved it. I loved being on set, having the camera on me, just like harnessing emotions in a single capture. And he even said, like, even for headshots, he was like, your whole body is going to get affected. Like, you need to pose your whole body to get different emotions. And that stuck with me for acting and modeling because I'm like, yeah, that's so true. The way you move and express your entire body, it's all part of one thing. Even for voice work, like that all relates. Your body is like all a whole. And so I shot with him. And then I got back home to Chicago where I lived at the time. And I was like, oh, that was kind of fun. Like maybe I could do some more like creative shoots, just get some more photos in general. Like I want to build my portfolio just to have for acting too. And then I was just booking more and more and more photo shoots at that point. I started working with a photographer that shot for Vogue a lot. And I would work with him like sometimes 2, 3 times a week. And at first I was like, oh, this isn't good because it's distracting me from my acting stuff. And then I was like, no, this is great. Like, if anything, you're on camera, you're learning how to ground your emotions, you're having fun. I loved it. So yeah, that kind of tumbled me down that pathway. And I've held on to that as well and just kind of merged the two, if anything. But yeah, modeling days to me are more relaxing. There's no memorizing, there's no emotional prep. You kind of show up and a lot of times they'll, prepare you. And I love modeling days just for that reason.
Okay. And like, what is your go-to? Yeah, like your go-to thing when you are about to go to a photo shoot? Is there like a specific, I don't know, like go-to song or a go-to meal? Like, what is your thing?
I always make a smoothie every morning. So that's kind of my thing, I guess. But yeah, for modeling, I mostly try to just like pack my bag the night ahead, make sure I have like, at least like underwear options, shoe options, whatever they might need is like, to coincide with the shoot and just be prepared. If they have visuals to look at those ahead. Sometimes you have to do your hair and makeup, so I'll try to like prep that ahead. But for the most part, I try to just kind of be relaxed and I'm not usually as stressed out for those days by any means.
I like it. Which
Yeah.
flavor is the smoothie you always do?
Ooh, yes. I make different smoothies, but my favorite are like cacao, banana, peanut butter type mixes. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. So we want to
Yeah.
start. So we want to start the whole day with a with a little bit of a sweet touch here and there.
Yeah, I have a huge sweet tooth. So yeah, I always joke that I like survive off of smoothies and ice cream because I love dessert.
Okay. What is your favorite ice cream?
Chocolate. I love chocolate. And I'm like, oh, I get really into toppings. So if you can do like chocolate with like cookie dough or brownie pieces, like anything to just throw all the sugar together, yeah, I love it.
What is like your number one dessert, like your favorite one?
My favorite ice cream?
Mm-hmm.
The Ben and Jerry's Tonight Dough. I'm allergic to dairy, so I have the dairy-free one, but it's a Tonight Dough. I think Jimmy Fallon created it, and it's a chocolate based with like cookie dough and peanut butter cookie dough mixed in. That one is, I could easily eat the whole carton, and I try not to every time.
There you go. Go sugar.
Yep, yeah, that's how I get my night auditions done. We just sugar bomb myself.
Epic, epic. That is cool. That's like super badass. Um, and tell me what are some of the things that you love the most about modeling in general?
I like that it's a way that you can express yourself so subtly. Like you're telling a story with a single photo. And you've heard the expression, like a photo can be worth 1,000 words. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so true. Whether the focus is like makeup or hair or fashion, like that's all part of the story. But the story is really just an image. And I think that's so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I see. Yeah, okay. I like it. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's true. And I
Yeah,
think that is like the most cool thing also like about modeling and also at the same time with the social media that now you have the possibility to kind of connect with people from all over the world who can
yeah,
get the chance to see more about what you do and who knows that could eventually can open the door to a collaboration or to to kind of
yeah.
expand more about what you do, you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, because I do a lot of editorial modeling and I've had even directors or people look and be like, that would be a cool character. Like that would be cool to develop like this like alienish creature that they did makeup for, like into a full-blown character. So it is, yeah, interesting how it can sway.
Okay. And what do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about models?
Mhm. Ah, yes. I think the biggest one is probably again, maybe being a little bit caught in your own world.
Mm.
But also like sizing. I've had a couple people be like, oh, you can't eat that or you can't do that because you have to stay a certain size, right? And I'm like, no. Like for me, that's not healthy. I have a lot of health issues, and I'm like, I'm not gonna have my life determined by that. Like I want to make healthy decisions and eat healthy just so I function well. but I would never make that like, oh, I need to fit in this size or like lose weight or do this. And the industry is leaning more towards not supporting that anyways. Like, yeah, I think there's even jobs that are like, oh, you're too small, or like you never know what they're looking for. So in a way, I think that's a big misconception. Runway is still very specific with height for the most part. That's shying away a little bit too, but yeah, there's brands. I mean, most brands I see now, especially for bigger campaigns like Nike and stuff, they're specifically looking for like unique faces, gap teeth, freckles, like people with like albino people, like all different types of people. And I love that because I've always had a unique look, and the classic commercial look was always slightly different. So when I see castings and I see the industry leaning more towards into that direction, I get so excited. But I think a lot of people get nervous to even embrace modeling or try it out because they have this vision of like what a model should be. And
Mm,
so I think that's probably the biggest misconception people
yeah.
see.
Yeah, that's true. And it's curious that even that how is it possible that even to this day, with the whole internet and social media and all of that, some people will still have that same idea, would put
Mhm.
those kind of stereotypes, I would say, to
Yeah.
modeling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, which makes me sad for people watching the industry, but also people that want to get into it and feel like they don't have a space because they do.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. I think like the whole key to it, right, is it to stay optimistic to it. You know what I mean? To
Yeah,
just do your thing and mind on your
exactly.
craft and learn from it.
Yeah, because I mean, you can get better, but at the end of the day, you are who you are. Like, you can't adjust your look to a certain extent. And like your voice, for example, for voice work, like at the end of the day, what you have to present is unique and that's who you are. So you should try to embrace that as much as you can.
Totally, totally. And
Mhm.
let's say that you get the chance to do a photo shoot. Yeah, like a photo shoot for any company you want. Name it, basically.
Oh,
Anyone. The sky's the limit. Which one would you pick?
I would choose Gucci. I don't know why. I've always loved their ads. I used to collage my folders in high school and I would always do like the Gucci. For some reason, they use redheads a lot too, but there was one in particular with like two redhead sisters and like pigs, and the room was just like scattered with papers. And I would look at that ad every day because it told such a story. And I feel like their ads tell such amazing stories with such like crazy pieces, beautiful colors. So yeah, if I could work with them, that would be a dream.
Who knows? I'm gonna tag Gucci in this episode just in case.
Do it. Yes.
We'll see what happens.
You
All
never
right.
know.
You never know. So
Yep.
now we know why you're a super badass model now. Check two. And we're killing it here. This is epic.
I like the
And
checklist. Yeah.
totally. And going a little bit, for the voiceover, tell me
Mhm.
like how I mean like yeah, like how it all started for voiceover too.
Yeah. So that was something I always thought was cool. In high school, a lot of my teachers would be like, "Oh, can you read the story or can you do this? Because your voice is so cute and fun." And I really didn't think much of it, but when I was in college and I was doing an audio production class, I was like, you know what? It would be fun to try to do like voiceover. So I took a class that year just in my hometown, like as a summer school course. It was only a couple classes even. And then I was like, okay, I know I like this. I know I enjoyed it. They said I had potential, what do I do now? Because of course that's the biggest challenge is like, how do I do this? And to me, the biggest challenge for voiceover was the technological aspect. I'm like, I don't know the equipment. I don't know how to edit. I don't know any of that. On top of the skill set, on top of getting representation, all of that. And so I got a voice coach in Chicago where I lived, Darren Stevens. And he helped me so much. We made my first commercial demo together. He coached me. He told me what equipment to get. He'd give me assignments. I would work on stuff every single day until I was like, okay, I'm ready and I want to get representation. And that's kind of the direction I moved. And then, yeah, I was living in Denver for a little bit. There wasn't a lot of voice work there. When I came to LA, I got repped pretty quickly and started booking bigger jobs pretty fast, which really excited me. And then I just kind of honed in and was like, okay, I think my niche is really like children and animal voices. Granted, I've done a different gambit of narration and commercial as well, but I really kind of honed in on like, okay, I love character work and I'm really particularly into care like children and animal voices. And that's what I kept getting booked for. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna hone in on this. And yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I mean it's super cool, whenever you get the chance to actually perform with only your voice. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and also like the type of yeah, but have like message to it, or yeah, like perhaps yeah, like the type of message you're going to deliver to those who are listening to it, that you are able with your voice to make them feel from being super excited, from being super terrified at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Because yeah, it's similar. Like modeling, you only have your look. Voice, you only have your voice. Like you have to harness that one skill set to tell a story and emote the best you can with just that one talent. So
Hmm.
it's interesting.
And how do you maintain your voice healthy, basically?
Yeah, that's a good question because it's been a challenge for me. I actually got vocal nodules about a year ago. And that's when I was really like, okay, we need to make sure we're taking care of our voice and taking this seriously. So I actually go to a vocal coach now. And I mean, I learned a lot even in choir growing up about like breath support and certain things, but I really take it to the next level, especially if I have a really big job. I'll get a little crazy and I'm like, okay, I'll go on vocal rest sometimes the day before if it's really big. Um, I always warm up my voice every morning now. I have a vocal nebulizer. I'll do a diffuser at night. Like there's a lot of different skills you can do just to make sure one, you're not wearing your voice out, and two, that you're using it correctly.
Okay. And
Yeah.
yeah, like what are some of the projects that you would love to, yeah, that you would love to be a part in with your whole voiceover acting career?
Yeah. Like I said, I love character work. So if I could do an animated series, just a well-known animated series that really affects like especially kids. I love working with kids and kids programs. But yeah, any sort of animated series, especially on like Nick or Disney, that would be so incredibly fun. Because every time I work with like a brand or a network that I have always dreamed of or like watched growing up, that like that feeling is so surreal. And just knowing, you'll get to a good audience is always a good feeling too.
Hmm. Okay. And what advice would you give to, people who are considering to enter into the voiceover world?
Yeah, I get asked this a lot too. Um, I would say I think a lot of people think it's maybe not easier than it is. I'm sure people give it more credit, but I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I always thought that'd be fun. I want to try it. Which is great, and I'm not discouraging anyone, but I think you really have to invest your time and energy and even a little bit of money at the beginning to really, really like pursue it. And I don't think people realize that as much. But I would say to get a vocal coach, like take it seriously, really see if you like it before you invest in making your first demo. Like see if you're comfortable at the mic, see if you like playing with your voice, what kind of characters you like to do. And then from there, like really be like, okay, I love this. I'm feeling confident. I'm going to make a demo. I'm going to get repped, like really diving into that world of like the tech side and also the industry side of things.
Okay. Okay. I like
Hmm.
it. And let's
Yeah.
say that one day I call you and I tell
Yeah.
you that I want to become an actor, a model, and I want to start also in the voiceover world.
Amazing.
What advice would you give? Would you give me? Which, by the way, zero experience. So what do you think that would be important for me to know?
Yeah. I think one, just making sure you love it because this is not an industry where you're doing it just for the money or doing it for the fame or attention, like, which is all great and beautiful things, but you have to make sure you really like it because it will test you and it's exhausting and it takes your whole self. You're going to invest your whole body, your whole mindset. Like, it does tumble you around a little bit, which is great. And that means you like it, but you have to be ready for that and you have to want the end result enough to be in it kind of for the long term.
I'll take into consideration. I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
if at some point I win something, I'll be mentioning you in my thank you speech.
Well, I would be honored.
There you go. I love it.
Me
And
too.
let's say
Mhm.
if you were in a stranded, yeah, if you were stranded on a desert island and
Mhm.
could only bring three movies to watch for the rest of your life,
Oh,
what would
wow.
what would they be?
Oh, that's a fun one. Okay. I love like futuristic sci-fi, like creepy type of movies. So I choose Ex Machina is one of my favorites. I'll choose that one as one of them. This is a random one. I feel like film critics are gonna be like, really, you chose that? Mean Girls, I choose as the original Mean Girls.
Hmm.
I could watch that on repeat just if I really need comedy and it's so funny and I never get sick of it. So I choose that one too. The third one, ooh, that's a good question. I'm trying to think if I want different genres, but I think I'll go back to sci-fi. Annihilation is one of my other all-time favorites, so I'll choose that one too. Yeah.
Interesting
Yeah.
mix.
Yeah. La La Land was close up there, but I feel like if I'm on a desert island, yeah, I think those are the ones I'd want.
Mm. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And what is your favorite TV show that you could watch over and over and over and over again?
Oh, yeah. I'm in between two. Stranger Things was one of my favorites recently, but I actually choose, I'm curious if you know this one because not a lot of people know it. It's called The OA. It stars Britt Marling in
Mm.
it. Okay. Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't want to give too much away, but it does have kind of a sci-fi element. But I like things that really make you think a lot. Like, especially if it's like horror films, I don't want people just dying for no reason. I'm like, I need the killer to have like some kind of motive or backstory to really like suck me in. So yeah, that's one of my favorites that really makes you think. Like where you turn off the movie and like still even days later, you're like, wait a minute, why did that character do that? Or like, what does that mean? Things like
Mm.
that that like affect you for days are the most powerful to me. So that's particularly why I liked the OA.
Okay. So is it like a little bit like a Black Mirror, for example?
Similar, yeah. And I love Black Mirror.
Okay.
So yeah, it has a similar feel. And the first and second seasons are pretty drastically different, but I love both of them. The second actually has Zendaya in it. So it has, yeah, a lot of bigger people, but for some reason I feel like a lot of people haven't seen the show.
I'm gonna watch it. It's on my
Yeah.
list.
Okay, please do, and then let me know how you like it.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
So basically, so check this out. So if I was able to kind of describe like a little bit of your personality, from what I
Mhm.
could say from this, it's a mix between cyberpunk and horror,
Oh, I like it. Okay.
right? Something like that.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I
Epic.
like it.
Okay. Okay. And like what motivates you? We all have those days that we just want to quit. It's inevitable, happens to all
Totally.
of us. So how you stay positive on a day or in a situation that perhaps you're not doing too well, let's say.
Yeah. I mean, personally, like friends and family really lift you up. That makes a big difference. Like just being able to call my dad and be like, I can't do it anymore. Like just having someone be like, yes, you can. But as far as my work goes, staying inspired is so important. And so like consistently seeing TV shows and films or going back to your old favorites or even like mood boards for certain characters, like all of that will really inspire me to be like, oh, okay, I could do that, or like that'd be fun to play with, or like even going to acting class and seeing like what my classmates do or my teachers reminding me certain things about the industry. All of that will really keep me on my A game and also keep me inspired so that I can have fresh ideas and make sure I'm bringing new things to my work.
Okay, okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. And my last question. So we
Okay.
can all enjoy and relax after an incredible, super badass chat, let me just say. So here it is. What do you
Okay.
think that could be the best title for this episode?
Ooh, the best title. Hmm. That's a good question. Do you usually title them a certain way? Is there like a format I need to follow?
Go for it. I mean, sky's the limit.
Okay. I will say authentically yourself.
Authentically yourself. I'll take it. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. It's accepted.
Yeah. No, I mean, of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay. Yeah, that's big, like a big theme in my life is just trying to be as authentic as you can, which sometimes is hard to do, but yeah, just trying to embrace authenticity.
I mean, it's difficult, and especially now in this. It's challenging, to be actually 100% yourself,
Totally.
and because at the end of the day, I mean, I think it's with life that you start to understand more about yourself, and that it is okay that if
Mhm.
certain people don't like you, or if you don't fit
Yeah.
in a specific groups here and there. I mean, I think it's with life and with knowledge and with experiences when you start to discover that I know who I am, I
Mhm.
know what I like, what I don't like, and
Yeah.
I want to go this way. And those who love me and yeah, those who really love me and who support me, they're gonna stay there for, 100%. And those
Yeah.
who don't, I don't need them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's so true. Really learning to stand up for yourself. And then again with art, like if there's a shoot or a concept that people are like, that was weird, why'd you do that? It's like, well, maybe that's not for everyone, and that's okay because that's how art is.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, to sum up here, we discover why you're a super badass actress, model, voiceover artist, and a super badass person. What can I say? It's epic what you do. It's incredible. I mean, it's super inspirational. The fact that you are doing it, the fact that you are showing up, the fact that you are going after it. Going after something that makes you happy. We all know that this thing, which is do what makes you happy, tends to be like a little bit cliche, and some people might think
Yeah.
that it's easy, but it's easier said than done. We'll know that it's a pain in the butt most of the
It's
time.
true.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's so true. And yeah, I mean, work is always work at the end of the day. Like, there's always going to be parts that are more challenging or you don't like as much. But,
But you're
as long
doing
as
it.
it's fulfilling and worth it, then it is.
Totally. You're doing it, and I'm super sure that if we were able to chat with a 10-year-old version of yourself, she would be super exciting to know like all of the things that you have overcome till this day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so true. I love that.
Yeah. So we discovered why you're super badass. So, yeah, epic. I want to thank you so much for making this happen, but also I want to thank those who stayed the whole episode. Let us know what you think in the comments below. As I said, make sure to make sure to subscribe, follow, leave a like. That helps a lot. But also, because we know why Bree super badass, let's make her viral. Hashtag Team Bree. And again, thank you for making this happen, Bree. Keep rocking out there. Keep shining. We need people like you. We need more people like you in this world for sure. So keep doing what you do. It's inspiring. And I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. I enjoyed this so much.
All right.